Hi everybody, my name is David. Welcome back to another Chaos Creations miniature painting video. Today we're going to be painting my Chaos Lord for the Black Legion, and we're going to cover how I paint all of the trim, a quick and easy way to paint the fur, and more importantly, how to get that sickening green glow of his plasma and power weapons. To start, this model was primed with a rattle can of matte black primer that I had lying around. Then I used a quick layer of Abaddon black. I tend to start painting colors that are in the hard to reach areas first. This way, if there are any mistakes made, you can go over with that black undercoat and fix it. I start with the skin of the Chaos Lord here. So starting with Witch Plum Purple from the Army Painter paint line, this is going to start us off with that living flesh color and set the darkest parts of the skin. I'm going to apply 2 layers to ensure that there's a really good coverage on there. And then I'm going to start layering that skin tone. I mix in Barbarian Flesh from the Army Painter line as well and work it into the highest points of the head. And these weird tentacle or pipe things that he has all over the body, not quite sure what they are. This starts to build up the volume of the shape and influence where the light source is going to be coming from on this model. So I'm going to mix in more and more Barbarian Flesh into each layer. This is going to brighten each area, and once I'm happy with how it looks, I'm going to make sure I hit all of the cheekbone, brow, forehead, and nose tip, getting the highest mid-tone colors. And I'm going to keep layering this on until I'm just painting a pure Barbarian Flesh for the full skin saturation. For the highest highlight, I mix in a 50-50 mix of Barbarian Flesh and Moon Dust Yellow from the Army Painter line, and these are going to be applied at the highest point of the model that are going to be closest to the light source. Tackling the small red trim is an easy part of the painting process that I want to be able to complete in a short time, so I'm just going to tackle that right away. I use a flat red to base coat all of the handles and his hair tie that he has on his head. While this dries, I decide it was too much of that skin tone with those pipes, so I take a layer of yellow contrast paint and I apply it all over those pipes. This works with the established values that we've already painted in earlier steps, and that purple still gives it a living feeling underneath the yellow. Going back to that red trim, I'm going to take Evil Sun Scarlet color, this is from the Citadel paint line, and start mixing those into the highlight and edge highlighting all of the details in the wraps and leather around the handle. Then taking that same yellow contrast mixed in with the Evil Sun Scarlet, and I just apply a light touch of a line to match the edges and directions of the model itself. Moving on to the armor, I'm going to start this off with a base of Calibite Green from Citadel and apply this to all of the armor trim as a flat base color. Then I'm going to start mixing in a 50-50 mix of Calibite Green and Ahriman Blue. This is going to start bringing in that saturated blue look to match the rest of my army. The layering is much of the same. We're going to go in from that 50-50 mix to about an 80-20 and reducing the green color more and more. And this is going to make the green be the darkest part of the armor and work those blue highlights higher and higher. For the final highlight, I'm going to start mixing in the blue sky from Vallejo paints. Again, following where I feel the light is naturally going to be sitting on this armor and in this model, and I'm going to dot in more and more sky blue until the final top highlight of pure sky blue. painting black is really straightforward. I don't tend to keep any colors as a solid color in my armors. I like to add a highlight even if the contrast is very, very close to the original color. So these highlight points will have a good hint of volume on anything that we're going to paint. I mix in a touch of rust gray into the Abaddon black as a midpoint highlight, and then slowly add in more rust gray layer by layer, trying to use that stippling effect on the highlights. Now, one of the things that I struggle with when doing this is the amount of moisture on the brush. I need to practice this, and you need to remember wherever you're going to lift your brush from the model is where you're going to have the most paint deposit. Going into the fur next, I'm going to apply a burnt umber to the full fur texture, then layering in my favorite Mournfang brown with a touch of Wraithbone white. This is going to kind of keep it a little bit desaturated. And I'm going to very carefully target the tips of all of the points of the fur, and then adding in a touch of yellow into the Mournfang brown. Using the same flat red from Vallejo, I'm going to take 3 coats of it and apply full coverage over this cape. This is going to be a nice base to go forward, and then going over the highest parts of the cape with Evil Sunz Scarlet. Now I want to make sure to leave that earlier layer of the red still visible in the recesses of the cloth. While that dries, we're going to move on to my favorite part, that glow. I'm going to break out my trusty airbrush, and with an airbrush white paint from Amazon I got called Spectra, I paint over the symbol on the hammer and try to imagine where that light from the plasma gun and the hammer are also going to interact with the leg of the Lord. Lightly airbrushing layer after layer, I'm trying to ensure that I don't overspray or get a spidering effect. I then spray the hot coals of the plasma gun, and allowing some overspray onto the leg and into the inside of that cape. When you're painting OSL, one of the ways to trick the brain to see that something is glowing isn't necessarily how bright the glow is, but the way it interacts with the objects around it. Now, the colors I decided to go with is in line with the other models in my Black Legion army. I want that sickly green glow, so I use a striking scorpion green contrast paint, put it directly into my airbrush, and spray this all over the white. I then go in and I thin down that titanium white paint with a mineral spirit, and then I'm going to paint that into the recesses of the symbol on his hammer, as well as onto the coils of that plasma gun. What this is going to do is it's going to ensure that the next coat, when I come in with my yellow, to be as bright as possible. It's using that same white. I also edge highlight all of the points directly facing those light sources, especially that plasma coil. Flashkit contrast yellow paint is going to be used to paint over all of the white from the previous step. This green-yellow combination is what gives it that sickly, supernatural feeling. The final steps on the cape, I'm going to bring in some of that previously used Barbarian Flesh into the Evil Sunz Scarlet. This is going to highlight and soften the look of that cape. Then the highest highlight, we're going to mix in a mixture of Moon Dust Yellow. For the final touch of detail, I paint that titanium white into the details on his shoulder pad. Again, I want maximum saturation when I'm going to go in and apply the Magmadroth Flame Orange contrast paint over the white. This color is really going to stand out around the blue armor. Then I'm going to add a touch of yellow contrast paint over the center and kind of make a gradient to that Magmadroth flame orange. Then at the end, this is our final result. Thanks so much for sticking around for the end result. If you want to see more and want to support the channel, leave a comment of what your favorite Chaos Space Marine model is, and maybe I can get to it in another future. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications for your videos so you don't miss any of these colorful tributes that were given off to the Chaos. We'll see you next time.